2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD Coupe and Spyder First Drive, Fun Redefined. Lambo's new budget coupe and roadster get put to the test on the track and on the road. Had this been a typical Lamborghini press drive, I'd be writing this 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD review after blasting around a far-flung racetrack, road test editor Chris Walton wrote in our Huracán Evo RWD First Drive a few months ago. Instead, thanks to 2020, he spent his time piloting the new entry-level Lamborghini alone around some of Southern California's finest driving roads. Not long after his drive, however, Lamborghini offered us the chance to drive the new Huracán Evo RWD at the fastest road in the West, on Willow Springs International Raceway's famous Big Willow Circuit. As an added bonus, I also had a brief opportunity to sample the new 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD Spyder on the roads surrounding the racetrack. Here's a quick review of how the new Lamborghini Huracán stack up. What is the 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD? Before we delve too deeply into the how, a quick reminder on the what. The new 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD Coupe and Spyder are the latest entry-level sports cars from the famed Italian performance marque. Replacing the Huracán LP 580-2, this Huracán Evolution sports updated exterior styling with improved aerodynamics, a revised interior featuring fighter jet-inspired seats, a new infotainment system, and powertrain updates including titanium intake valves and a new performance exhaust system. In comparison to the relatively new all-wheel drive Huracán Evo, the Huracán Evo RWD loses the front drive shaft and sees its mid-mounted 5.2-liter V10 detuned from 630 horsepower and 443 lb-ft of torque to 602 HP and 413 pounds-foot. Like the all-wheel drive model, the Huracán Evo RWD puts its power to the ground via a 7-speed twin-clutch automatic gearbox. One of the most significant changes Lamborghini made to the 2020 Huracán Evo RWD is in its Performance Traction Control System, or PCS, tuning. Its three drive modes have three distinct personalities. The normal strata, or street, setting is a conservative program that makes the Huracán as docile as an Audi A5 dicing through traffic. Sport mode stiffens up the optional MagneRide magnetic shocks, firms up the steering and throttle response, quickens the transmission's shifts, and relaxes the traction control's intervention to allow what Lamborghini calls constant throttle drifts. 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD, Racetrack Performance. The latest entry-level Huracán's racetrack manners depend upon which driving mode you choose. During Lamborghini's socially distanced track session, I chased an instructor around Big Willow, first in Sport, and then in Corsa. The difference between the two modes is night and day. Rather than the buttoned-down but knife-edge feel you get in something like a Porsche 911 in its own Sport mode, the same mode in the Huracán Evo RWD at first feels loose. The Lamborghini's steering is firm and direct, and the throttle response is instantaneous, but it's easy to catch an inescapable feeling that the rear end wants to step out on you. In reality, though, the Huracán defaults to safe understeer unless you provoke it intentionally with heavy throttle. Corsa mode, in comparison, turns the 2020 Huracán Evo RWD into a proper track car. The suspension stiffens noticeably, the steering somehow becomes even more direct and accurate, and the car feels impressively composed. It comes across as a true driver's car that lets you focus on the racetrack in front of you instead of worrying about what the car is or isn't doing. Some supercar shoppers might be inclined to get an AWD Huracán Evo purely for the added safety and peace of mind of having four-driven wheels, not to mention the extra power and quicker acceleration, but the electronic tuning in the 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD works so seamlessly in the background, you don't ever feel like it's saving your ass. It's transparent and, again, lets you focus on your line, which is exactly what you want from a good driver's car. And on the street, there's so much grip available at any speed resembling even remote sanity. How much is a 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD? These are expensive cars, but you knew that already. The 2020 Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD Coupe starts at $214,366, undercutting the Lamborghini Urus SUV and making the Huracán Evo RWD the cheapest way to put a new Lambo in your driveway. The new Lamborghini Huracán Evo RWD Spyder is of course a bit more. Prices for the Roadster start at $235,223. Yes, the Huracán Evo RWD is a somewhat decontented Huracan, but more important is the fact it's one of the best driving cars Lamborghini has ever put on the road.